What it is, what it do, cyber world. It is your girl, the one, the only, Ash Said It. AshSaidIt.com, AshSaidIt.com. Welcome to the Ash Said It Daily Podcast Show. I appreciate you for all of your love and support. Over 1,600 episodes and 500,000 streams worldwide. None of this would be possible without you guys, so I thank you so very much. And yes, here in the South, darlings, we are enjoying some really awesome spring vibes. You know, the flowers are in full bloom here in Georgia, so there's pollen everywhere. It's a mess. But it doesn't mean that you can't curl up with a good book, all right? And today I have the pleasure, the distinct honor of having USA Today bestseller, Cate Holahan. Hey, Cate.
Hey, Ash. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you so much for joining us. So, Cate, what part of the world are you at today?
Well, I actually just got back from Jamaica, and I'm in New Jersey, and it's very different.
Yeah.
It's cold and rainy as opposed to bright and sunny, but you know, we need the rain for the flowers to grow, so I'll take it.
That is right. You're absolutely right. So to start things off, Cate, when did you realize that you wanted to become a writer?
I always wanted to become a writer. I actually, when I was 7, I wrote a short story and bothered my mom to send it into Scholastic because I thought I was going to be published. Because I guess I was delusional. It helps if you're a little delusional, if you want to go into the art. And so, I got a very polite letter back saying no, obviously. But I and so I just kept at it, and eventually I was a journalist for about a decade, and then after that I became a fiction writer. So, 30 years later.
Yes, but hey, it's never too late. It is never too late to go after that dream. I love it. So, where were you when you got the news that your book project was now officially a USA Today best-selling novel?
Oh, well, so it was my second book that made the list. And I was, I was in my house, and it's kind of funny because you start to see your sales, and you're kind of like looking, going, wait a second, I feel like my sales I should hit this already. Yeah. And so then when you finally find out, it's great, but it's kind of like watching water boil, like you sit there and you feel like every sale and like every review, you're like, okay, well, like 1 in every 30 people review. So then if I have this many Goodreads reviews, that probably means I have this many sales. And I'll just looking at the big booksellers have that book scan where you can track. So you're always kind of trying to guess it before it actually happens.
Yeah. But, wow. Awesome. Okay, so what can you tell us about your newest project, Her 3 Lives?
Yes. So I'm so excited for this book to come out. It's like the pregnancy that never ended. Because, so I'm like, yes, the baby is out.
It's coming.
Yes. So this book, the idea of it came actually before COVID. It tells the story of a couple, Jade and Greg. Greg is older; he is 52. Jade is 32. It's Greg's second marriage, and they're engaged and about to start their lives together. And they're the victims of a home invasion in which Greg is brain injured. He's hit over the head with a crowbar and suffers a traumatic brain injury.
Oh, wow.
So he kind of is recovering in the house, and while he's doing that, he installs all these smart cameras that we all have, right? The Nest cams and the Ring doorbells and all of this stuff. And he's trying to protect the house while knowing that he's kind of in a diminished capacity.
Yeah.
And as he's doing it, he starts to watch, like inadvertently starts spying on his wife, and then starts doing it more intentionally, and starts to wonder if she had anything to do with the break-in and the attempt on his life. And so it's kind of about digital paranoia and how much of all of these devices is healthy, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like just because you can watch your house 24/7 doesn't mean you should.
Right.
Well, because you can like spy on your kids or like track them with, like find my iPhone and things. Like maybe everybody needs a certain amount of autonomy, and that's kind of where the title comes from, Her 3 Lives, because it's this Gabriel Garcia Marquez quote. He wrote 100 Years of Solitude, obviously, and all these amazing books. But he said that everyone has 3 lives: public, private, and secret. And his point was that to be a developed human, we need those 3, and we need these different spheres of our existence. And so what happens when you have all this technology that makes it very difficult, and also when you have all this social media that blurs, what is your public life versus your private life? And so I was thinking of all of that, and then of course I'm a thriller writer, so I turned it into a thriller.
Oh my gosh. It sounds so good, Cate. I'm excited for this book. Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
Super, super excited. So what can you tell us about the virtual book launch on 4/20?
Oh, well, it is great. So I have a lot of virtual events planned. I'm going to the Georgia Center for the Book. Ooh. So Kimberly Bell, another great psychological suspense writer, is joining me on that Zoom, and we will be talking about how we get our ideas for thrillers, what are some of the things that are kind of top of mind now, how we kind of mine our own anxieties to try and tell good stories, and also how we, how in a book you want it to be entertaining, but you also want to say something, and you want to reflect something about the world that we live in back to us in a way that, because it's in story form, becomes a bit. It's just removed enough that we can actually look at it sometimes.
Yeah.
We're constantly living and doing our best to just keep up day to day. And so I think the great thing for fiction is you can get lost in the story, and it makes you kind of reconsider things that you do in your own life. I know just writing this story made me reconsider all of the technology that I've become so dependent upon, and how much of it, might actually be making me more adult, than facilitating my life.
I agree. I definitely agree with that. And just the age that we're living in with everything, we're just so AI dependent on stuff with our Alexas and all these different things that are going on. I'm they're listening to us. Of course they are.
Yes. I mean, to the point where sometimes I sit there and it's just, you get these ads and you're and you're almost resentful. It's yes, I do want that. And I want it. I want it because you're listening to me talk about how much I want that. Right? And I'm not going to get it just because I don't like that I want it. And I also don't appreciate being fact-checked by my children constantly. I sit there and say something and my kids will go, hey Google, is that right? And it's they real time fact-check me. And it's, at some point you're sitting there and you're do you want, it's convenient, but it's also made parenting so much more difficult.
Yeah.
Because, anyway.
Oh my goodness. Hilarious. So now that we're talking about your kids a little bit, are they interested at all in any of your work yet?
Yes, they're not allowed to read any of it because they're 9 and 11.
Yeah, that's pretty young.
So I don't necessarily want them delving into some of my storylines, but they do. They can read it, right? It's just it's just the subject matter.
Yeah,
which I'm sure. But also, I guess the other thing with parents is that we sometimes infantilize our kids. We think they're younger than they are, right? And then all of a sudden they'll say something and you're like, how'd you know that? But that's what, so for all I know, I have one kid that's constantly reading all those, all the Percy Jackson, all the books that are based off of Greek mythology.
Yeah.
And when I think about it, I'm like, some of that stuff is way darker than anything I would ever write.
Awesome.
Parents eating their children. I'm like, maybe I should just give them the book. Be like, here, it's fine.
Hilarious. So, Kate, last but certainly not least, how can people get in contact with you as far as getting involved with the book launch and absolutely, picking up her 3 lives?
Oh, great. Yeah, well, they can check out my website, which is www.cateholahan.com. That's CateHolahan.com. And I put all of my engagements on the events page, even though they're all virtual, but there's still events. And then also on my Facebook, that's just Cate Holahan, same spelling, and I have everything there usually too.
I love that. Makes everything easy. Just go to the website. You can check everything out. Easy peasy.
That's right.
I love it. Okay, so I got a bonus question for you because this just came to me. So how much of your personal life or even people around you, like, I don't know, if like cousin, auntie, sister, how much of that do you actually put into these books? Like, are people like a little timid at telling you stories and things that's going on? Because you're like, she's going to put this in her next book. She's going to talk about this in the book.
Well, listen, it can be dangerous being friends with a writer because even if we don't intend to, we tend to do it. It's funny because in this book, the character of Jade is Jamaican American, and I'm half. My mother's Jamaican, and my dad is Irish American, and so the character, I definitely relied on some sayings my mom has, and I threw them in the book, right? And I know my mom is going to be reading that, and she's like, everything I say when I'm mad at her, it's just show up in the book. But I'm sorry, it's there in my head. It makes its way.
I love it. I love it. Cate, much more success to you on this book project and others. Continue to push for the stars, darling. I would love to have you back, especially after this launch, to see the kind of feedback that you're getting and, maybe possibly the next project. Who knows? But
that would be wonderful.
I would love to have you back, but much more success. Definitely everybody go check out the websites. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. Thank you so much for all of your love and support. Keeping in mind, anyone to tell you that you can't do what you want to do, you look them square in the face, you tell them, don't believe me. Just watch. Watch what I do. Watch me make it happen. Watch me make history. That's what we're doing this for, the history books. Social media is nice, but real life is so much better. Until next time, you guys.